Hey guys, Novel Bullshit here, welcome back to the channel, and today we're here to talk about my thoughts, your thoughts on the Longsword. So let's get into this video. First of all, we should go over the Longsword and my history, and I haven't played Longsword much in the recent gen, barely touched it in 5th gen, not a weapon that I use at all. I don't really like the 5th gen iteration of Longsword. I know you guys might roast me in the comments, but I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it because it does more damage or it's meta or anything like that. That's never been a problem for me. I just like the old style of Longsword. I love playing it in GU. I loved playing it in 4U. I played it a bit in 3U. I just don't like the new style with counters and stuff like that on the Longsword. So for me, the new Longsword isn't my Longsword. Maybe I'll play with it in Wilds a bit, but it's not really my weapon. But if you want to hear more about that, maybe I need to do a video dedicated to it, which I might do. I do have a Longsword video coming out tomorrow, and this video is going to be a follow-up to that. So I might add in some of my thoughts of why I don't like Longsword into that video as well. But let's get into the poll for this episode. All right, here we got the poll, and the question of today was Longsword users. What do you think about the weapon in the Wilds beta? With 171 votes. Not too many votes, but still a good amount. We got 42% saying I love it, 36% saying I like it, 15% saying I don't like it, 8% saying I hate it. This is quite interesting. I've voted the poll so far. I think this one is the most divisive. Maybe Instaglyph is a bit more divisive, but they definitely had more less love, and more hate. But this one, it seems like it's more of a kind of an even spread between all four. But after reading this poll, we can just go straight into Phantom Shazam's, the original's comment here, saying, I'm pretty sure that 8% of people who are sick of Longsword being top of the meta. Yeah, that's a possibility. We do know that Longsword does get a lot of hate for doing damage, for being the most popular weapon in the series at the moment currently. Like I said previously, I'm not a fan of the new iteration of it, not because it's meta or anything like that. I just don't like the new style of how it plays. That's just me personally. I'm old in the Monster Hunter community. I like some stuff to keep original, but that's just me. For others, I don't know. Maybe we can see. If you guys disagree with what Phantom said here, drop down in the comments if you hated it, and be constructive. I want to see some real criticisms of why you don't like or hate the Longsword in this game. Now, there's a very interesting Longsword videos that my subs sent me in the Discord by Get Crunked, and honestly I think you guys should watch it. It's very entertaining, very good, very well crafted Monster Hunter video from him, and yeah, it actually goes through the history of Longsword and I guess more of a defense when it comes to it being meta and how people's perception of the Longsword might be skewed. But yeah, I'll drop that in the comment down below, so have a look at that if you're interested. But here we got my boy Delta, and just to let you guys know, this is Delta's footage in the background. I thought, you know what, you want to see a good actual Longsword user, not me, because I'm not good with Longsword in the new gen. I played it a bit, but not much. He mostly does gameplay and uploads clips on Monster Hunter, so yeah, check him out. Anyway, plus there are 4477 says, Wild's Longsword is awesome. It's extremely fun to play, and I'm sure it's going to keep me engaged for hundreds of hours. But it's honestly a little too perfect. All of the weaknesses that Longsword traditionally had have been shaved down to the point of non-existence. 3 meter gain from neutral stance with spirit charge, hyper armor in a bunch of unnecessary places, no more restrictions with the combo routes. I'd be lying as a Longsword main that I won't enjoy the power that it gives to me, but I know it'll be another 3 years of not getting any credit because the weapon will be viewed as too broken. Yes, the broken part, like I said guys, watch Get Crank's episode because very interesting video on how the Longsword is and if it's broken or not. Now, being too perfect, yes, I did watch a video from Radatuska as well, and he gave a rundown of issues that he has with the Longsword and why he feels it's too perfect and it does too much. They did take away a lot of the weaknesses from what I've heard. I don't know why Longsword needs hyper armor. It really doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me why they just add in hyper armor to so many different places. To be honest, it's not just the Longsword. I also noticed in the Instaglaive, when using your focus strike, you also get hyper armor. So I think this is just more like a Wilds methodology thing rather than a Longsword thing particularly. I mean, if you think of the dual blades can also counter so many times. It has so much options now to just do what it wants. So maybe it's not just a Longsword thing in general, but I can definitely understand why you have issues with the Longsword if it's becoming that type of weapon. Now, I have no issue with a weapon that has a lot of strengths, but then has some weaknesses. But once you start to add too many strengths into a weapon, there's less thought into every move you make because you know there's so many routes, there's so much safety you can have while playing the weapon. So you might not be able to enjoy it to its fullest in that sense. Now, it's possible that the monsters in this game are just going to be that strong and that difficult that we're going to need these tools to deal with them. But hey, this is what we hoped for Rise, and it wasn't the most hardest of games, but still, it was fun anyway. So when it comes to the Longsword and Wilds, we have to really wait and see how he's going to treat us in this game. But thanks Delta for that comment. Next, let's have a look at Hito, the Living Drawing. 1035 has to say, gonna be completely honest, I don't know how this weapon hasn't been nerfed yet. Well, it's just a beta, so I guess there's no way it can be nerfed when no one's really playing it right now. It is so easy to get to red meter for the attack boost. by spamming counters is not even funny. You don't even need to do the spirit combo anymore, which used to be the whole part of this weapon. I'm glad that the red meter works more like the old games now though. This weapon is really in the place Charge Blade and Instant Glaive were when they first came out, but unlike them, it just gets more and more stuff added. Yes, I think this is one of the issues that people have with this weapon, is maybe it's not just the damage, they just keep adding stuff to it. Like, they just keep giving it more freeness, they just keep giving it more openings. Capcom seem to favor Longsword a lot over other weapons. It's quite evident when you see in the game. They're very stylish with the weapon. They really seem to care about Longsword. Probably because it's the most popular weapon, right? You want to cater to your biggest audience, but you don't want to forget about the rest. That's the problem. And for a long time, they forgot about the lance users, the gun lance users, the hunting horn users, the hammer users, the shield users in a sense. They forgot about them. And now they're starting to think about them more as the series are going on. But definitely it seems like Longsword does get a lot of the treatment, not just in damage, just in what they add to the weapon in general. Now, when you say it's easier to get the red meter, yeah, I suppose so, but this is just what's happened since the old games, like you say. I mean, 3rd gen, 4th gen, whatever gen, it was so much different. I know people harp back to World and saying it's harder in World, but I mean, it was harder in the previous games before that. That's probably because most of the people you meet in the community these days haven't played the old games. They don't know how it was like playing these weapons in the old games. And Longsword specifically was way different. Way different. What they did to Hunting Horn and Rise, technically they did to Longsword back in the old games from 4 to World. That's basically it. And each iteration or each game comes out, Longsword changes, it develops, it adds more, it evolves. It keeps evolving. It's like a ever-growing thing that never stops. It keeps feeding on the essence of the community. And Capcom keeps feeding it because the beast needs to be fed. The beast is hungry and it needs more blood. That's the Longsword. That's the current day Longsword that we have. And unfortunately, here we are. The spirit combo not being useful anymore is lame because that was the whole point of the weapon. You're right. It is literally what the weapon did. In fact, when the weapon first came into Monster Hunter in the 2nd gen, the spirit gauge couldn't be leveled up. There was nothing. When it came to try, that's when they made it so you can level up your spirit gauge. You can level up your weapon, you can get stronger. They actually added the end of the combo, your finish of the spirit combo. But now, it seems that people aren't really using that. It's not even just that. In my opinion, I don't see many people using the strafes to the side. The swing to the side by attack. That's not really a thing because you don't need to. You take the monster on head on now with Longsword, and they've opened up so much to make it so much freer so people can do it so much easier with counters. So honestly, I think this is just a natural development of what they've done with Longsword from the 5th gen onwards. Like, people are surprised, but I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. Honestly, the drastic changes from 4th gen Longsword to World Longsword is crazy, but people don't know about it. People don't talk about it. Because most of those people who are playing Longsword now aren't old heads, they're new heads. So they just don't have that history and that feeling towards the weapon as some of the people who played in the past, which the living drawing thing here seems to have. So yep, thanks for this comment, guys. I'm sorry if I ranted a bit too much. That was a rant. Bro, most of these weapons I haven't ranted, but I'm actually ranting now. Fuck. My true feelings on the Longsword's coming out. My bad. My bad. You know, I can rant too, I guess. You know, I can be angry too. Well, speaking about old heads, why don't we go to someone new who hasn't really played the Longsword much? We got CWC Semi-Automatic 2618. So many of you guys have some interesting and weird names. But anyway, not much of a Longsword main or a regular Longsword user. I've around a dozen hunts with it in World, played around the Kamura's training ground, and didn't use it during the beta because other weapons were just more appealing to me. For what I've seen in Wilds, changes continue to move the wrist that made Longsword flashier moves, ISS and Helmbreaker specifically, so satisfying for me to successfully use. I'm not trying to shame anyone for having fun with the Longsword. I think everyone should have fun with their weapons of choice. It's just that I don't see myself using it in Wild when it was at the same level of interest as gun lance in World. I want to talk about the fun thing that you talked about. Yes, people should have fun with weapons. If you're not having fun with your weapon because maybe there's a change or something you don't like, I recommend picking another weapon. I know that's sad to say, but do that. But in general, shaming people for having fun is not the greatest thing to do. Yes, I know some weapons are broken, bows specifically, which are way more broken than longswords, by the way. But longswords definitely get more hate. I think bows and bow guns and whatever, people just kind of disregard them. They don't even think about them as weapons, so that's probably why. From what I've heard, they definitely removed the risk factor. I didn't play it too much in the beta, I played it a bit, so I can't really give you constructive criticism on how the risk factors have changed, because I didn't even play much in 5th gen. But I can talk about how it's changed from the 4th gen. Not 100%, but that's not really relevant. It's more about how it changed from the 5th gen now rather than the 4th gen. So my warning to Capcom is risks and rewards are important. It's what keeps people interested and invested in many things in life. Why? If you're just getting rewarded all the time, you don't feel that adrenaline of risking something for it. You don't feel the adrenaline of trying to put up something for that reward. You don't feel like it's earned. It's just given to you, technically. When you have to struggle a bit, when you have to decipher or figure out or plan or do whatever to get that reward, when you get it, it feels so much better. It's like when you spend all day or all week just playing games, hanging out, doing nothing. you kind of get bored. You don't feel it as much. But when you've been working for a whole week and you're like, you know what, this weekend I get to play Monster Hunter Wilds. I get to sit down in my chair and just play at my desk, feel good. You're gonna feel the greatest person ever, rather than just playing all weekend forever. Like it's not the same feeling, it's different. But thanks Semi-Automatic, I appreciate this comment. And next we got Obvious Valiant 760. Once again, this time I am actually a longsword user and a longsword main specifically. And to be honest, I'm loving it in Wilds, especially the mobility of the spirit combo and the attacks while in red. Be my favorite new addition even more than the Helm Splitter follow-up. I honestly don't mind the state isn't like at all. But at the same time, if you see Matata's video on the longsword, I also completely agree with basically the whole thing. Besides, I do want hyper armor on the Helm Splitter follow-up, no damage reduction. Just the ability to use the attack through moves or earplugs on the Helm Splitter and follow-up, especially because I don't like being rolled out of my attack and losing my spirit level. I know earplugs as a skill exists and all that, but this happens enough to be annoying, and I'm glad I don't have to deal with it. I don't mind if Quick Sheath is slower than Rises, but I do want it to actually matter, unlike in World. Lastly, using any kind of left-right fade slash is annoying. Inconsistent outside of focus mode, I find it making me use the normal attack back move even when holding right or left unless in focus mode. And I wish that wasn't the case. Interesting comment here. Thanks, Valiant. Now, I have seen Matata's video, like I said before in this episode. Do I agree? I do agree. And that's what tomorrow's video is going to be about. I do agree, but it's kind of interesting to me how the same speed that people are talking about now from Road to Rise to Wilds, or Road to Rise and Rise to Wilds or whatever, or even Road to Wilds, because I guess a lot of people skipped Rise in that aspect. It's the same conversations we had from 4th gen to World. The longsword has changed drastically and it got way more safer. No matter what, it's the same thing. Honestly, it's the same thing. It's just that people don't have that history and that knowledge of the weapon before World, so they don't understand the weapon before World. It already got safer and it's just getting even more safer. It's just what's happening with the weapon. It's sad, but I think people just have to accept it at this point. If you want it to not be safe, go back to how it was in 4th gen. You know, remove all the counters and just play with your fade slashes. Is that gonna happen? No, never. So there's no point even talking about that. But if you really do want it less safe, go back there. And I know a lot of World longsword users just cringe, like, how can I play my longsword if I counters? Well, that's how we used to play it back in the day. Anyway, going on to your point about earplugs and hyper armor and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know about that. Your biggest move shouldn't have hyper armor. For example, look at Wyvern Bounce with the gun lance. They actually took away the guard. Now you don't even guard and it's their biggest move. There's no hyper armor. There's nothing. That move takes longer to charge than anything the Helm Splitter has. So I'm not too sure I agree with that. I think the Helm Splitter and the Helm Splitter follow-up should only really be used when the monster's down. When you need to use it on the monster when they're actually weakened or they're in a weakened state. Not whenever you feel like it or just because you want some hyper armor. Your biggest moves should be vulnerable and you should only use the biggest moves when you think it's time to use the biggest moves. That's why the biggest moves, you know? But that's just me specifically. I know that you even slightly bash yourself saying, you know, you should be fine with it. There's earplugs and other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's just annoying to deal with. Honestly, I think there should just be some stuff that's annoying to deal with. Monsters in this game don't roar anywhere near as much as they do in World, thank God. So, worrying about it in combat, I don't think should be too much of a problem. The quick sheath thing, yeah, I don't mind it. I think that's actually pretty cool. That to have quick sheath actually help you sheath in your weapon, it makes sense, right? So I think having it actually affect your skills would be great. If it affects your skills, it probably does affect your ability to sheath your weapon in this game, I imagine. But yeah, I guess we have to wait and see on that one. But thanks for the comment. And next we got Mira, one of my longest subs for a long time. It's great to see you, my girl. Hope you're doing good and hope everything's fine in life. Anyway, she says, they finally made playing without counters actually fun and viable thanks to the reposition move on the spirit combo 1. Enjoyed it a lot. It felt so much better to use that I was feeling more safe using it over the busted awful force light slash counter. It may be a bit OP, yeah, but I don't care. Counters Longsword is back and it's ton of fun, baby. Oh yeah, that's what I like to see. Also, the fact that it gets literally zero access to high damage in OP shared counter QTE that Plowcast kind of balances out. So it's not even that bad. It was strong, but Bone Doublades both felt safer and stronger to me. So I don't get the hate either. This is a great comment from you, Mira. Thanks, I appreciate you writing this. Because yes, I want the counterless longsword back. And if I can play counterless longsword in this game that way, I'm going to do it. I don't want to counter with longsword. It doesn't make sense to me. Why are you countering with longsword? It doesn't make sense. I can't perceive it. I know you might see it in movies, samurais countering. It's not even countering though, that's parrying. And even then, it's different. You're parrying someone with a sword. You're not parrying a massive monster. Like, it's not even equivalent. I know people like to talk about realism. Longsword countering is like the most unrealistic thing ever. It doesn't need to happen. It doesn't need to happen. But it's happened, so at least there's a way I can play it without counters. And if I can play longsword without counters, I'm playing Longsword again. I'm picking up the weapon. It wasn't my main. It was never my main. But in GU, I have like 500 hunts with the weapon. In GU, 500 hunts, because I love the weapon in that game. It's just great. It feels so good. So thanks for this, Miro. I really appreciate that you've told me this, because I'm actually excited to play Longsword now. And it seems like me and you sit in the same boat. We both don't like counters, which is great. I mean, let's stay on the lance. I'll accept them on the lance. Now, when you talk about it not having power clashes and so on, yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't know if it balances out, but I suppose not having it adds into it, right? I don't know if it has an offset attack either, actually. I actually don't know about that. So if it does, let me know down below. That would be interesting to know. And you say that bow and dual blades were safer and stronger. Yeah, but I mean, dual blades has been safe for the longest time, but people don't talk about dual blades. Dual blades has been low-key OP that people just kind of like disregarded, but it's so fast. It can move so much. It can dodge now like infinitely, and it does a lot of damage. It's crazy. Dual blades is crazy, but people don't talk about dual blades much. They talk about the longsword a lot. But dual blades is definitely a safe and crazy strong weapon. The bow too, but you know, they're bows. Bows are insane, and they will forever be insane because Capcom don't know how to balance ranged weapons. Or balance the games in general. But that's it. Thanks, Miro, for this. It was awesome. Let's go for Nominus DG5JE. And they say Longsword. How to put it? It's really not playing the same game as many other weapons. Bro, this has been the same thing since World, so that's nothing new to me. I'm not kidding. That thing pretty much only got buffs. I don't know what to say. Just that I can't say I don't love it. But I don't love it for the right reasons. Really not. It feels like I did a pact with the devil every time I picked up in the beta. I'm happy for the players who still like the weapon the way it is in Wilds. So far, I'm a bit mixed. Having that much power and safety after getting good parries like playing Goku. In conclusion, cool weapon, really cool. Yeah, that's really it. Nothing goes wrong with it anymore. And it seems like this is just a general consensus. Most longsword users are saying that the weapon is too safe. They just added in so many safeguards now, so you don't have to worry about anything. Like, you're safe no matter what you do. And that's the problem in any game. You don't want to be too safe. If you're going to be too safe, at least take away the damage, right? Think about the lance. People used to say the lance is safe, and this is why it has less damage than other weapons. Well, now there's so many new weapons that are so much safer than the lance ever was, and they don't have damage taken away. Dual blades, longsword, bows, they are so safe. They have so many ways to do what they need to do and still do so much damage, right? So that has never made sense really, because it was never really a thing. Maybe before all the other weapons got counters, I would say so, but now they start to get counters, no, it's not a thing. But a pact to the devil, yeah, no, that's kind of funny. Just picturing that. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. He gave you the weapon. Eventually, he's gonna come and collect. And when he's coming to collect, well, I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready, because I ain't gonna back you, man. I'm a man of church, so you're on your own. You're on your own, Anonymous. You're on your own. All right, my voice is starting to hurt a bit. So, Image Gecko, I'm gonna get some help on this one. But thanks again for writing this comment. I do appreciate it.
I really don't like how safe it's become. In World, there are certain moments where you are completely vulnerable. This is good because it forces you to think proactively before committing to those actions. In Wilds, it feels like they are pushing away from these vulnerabilities. To give an example, you can foresight slash during the animation of Spirit Combo 3. A lot of these changes seem emphasis on seem, because it's too early to tell, to lower the skill ceiling of the weapon, which is a very bad thing to do in game design. Also, I want to say, I really don't like it when people ask for nerfs or call LS op. I think it misses the point. LS isn't too op, it's too safe. For me to want LS nerfed, it would have to be doing so much damage for it to actively hurt the enjoyment of other players in a hunt. My disenjoyment with LS comes from the fact that a lot of the depth has been removed to make the weapon more streamlined. On a good note, I think the new red gauge combos are super cool and a good direction for the weapon. I also like the Helmbreaker follow-up, although I think the super armor plus damage reduction is a bit much.
Thank you for that, Image Gecko. No, I think you're right. Like I said before in this episode, taking away the vulnerabilities, taking away the weaknesses of weapons isn't good game design. It definitely isn't, because it just shifts how people perceive your weapon. They're not going to think as much. They're not going to engage as much with the mechanics of the game because they don't have to. You're literally giving them a pass on certain aspects of the game. When you're adding things like too much hyper armor, earplugs, evasion, reduction of damage, they don't need to think about what skills they need to add to their weapon, to their armor, to make up for the facts that weapons have weaknesses. So that whole aspect of the game is going to disappear. It just gives them a free pass to add in more attack, because why not? They don't have to worry about safety, about defense, about utility. And that's the problem when you just make weapons so awesome and have no weaknesses. For example, when it comes to the lance, because I'm a lance main, guard. I need guard because my weapon, even though it has strengths with the shield, the strengths aren't good enough to make it viable unless I have guard on the weapon. You need guard up. You need other skills to help make use of it. Maybe stamina skills if I'm using too much stamina, and so on. You need to think about that kind of aspect of the game. But if you just give them a free pass, people won't engage in your own system. So Capcom right now, you're literally killing your other systems by making weapons too safe. And that's on you, Capcom. That's on you. You gotta think about that. They probably haven't thought about that. I don't know who's their game design leader. They really need to rethink about the game balance of their games. Because I believe you, I actually agree with you. Longsword isn't OP, it's just too safe. That's the problem. But it's not the only weapon that's too safe. Like I said, I want to just reiterate that it's not the only weapon. There's so many other weapons that are safer than Longsword, but Longsword is still safe. It's too safe for what it can do, and that's the problem. It's too safe, it does damage, and it's flashy at the same time. Kids getting more moves, kids with more options. That's the problem. When you add them all together, people get annoyed. Because look at the Charge Blade. Charge Blade does loads of damage. Charge Blade, I think, I just got a sheet sent to me in the Discord. I think Charge Blade was the second strongest weapon for the demo, fighting Ray Dao, doing the fastest speed runs. So Charge Blade is busted. But Charge Blade is seen as more difficult to use, so Charge Blade will never ever get the disrespect. No one will send disrespect his way because it's seen as a Chad weapon. No one will ever say anything about Charge Blade in that way. Longsword isn't perceived that way because it's not just strong, it's safe, it's flashy, and it gets a lot of attention. And I guess because it's also a bit weeby. Right, that's the problem. That is the problem. So that's the state we are right now when it comes to this weapon. Now you talk about the new red gauge and combo. The combo is pretty cool. Like, I can't lie, it looks cool to see. And I can't be too mad now actually because they've actually added a lot of different combos to many other weapons in the game. It's not like Longsword is the only one getting stuff at the moment, right? So I think it's fair game when it comes to that. But thanks for this image, Gecko. And here we are with Honeyconov, and they say,
so when I tried out Rise, I actually tried maining the weapon because I was inspired by Peepo's shenanigans. Let's just say I never really had the appropriate reaction time to fully utilize all the counters. Rise was too fast for me, so I ended up dropping the game. I have dabbled in it in World. It was fun, but blowing your red on ISS and Helmbreaker while satisfying. Getting back to red felt too punishing. Helmbreaker felt too punishing, even though I knew how powerful it was. So I preferred to use other weapons. I really like how comfortable it is to use in Wilds. Monsters aren't nearly as fast in Rise, so I can read their body language better. I don't need to immediately spend the red spirit gauge either. Can instead pull off combos with new variants on the standard combo, spirit combo, and literally turning into a ballerina with the red variant of Foresight Slash. So pretty. And when the red gauge gets low, if timed correctly, you can spend it into the satisfying Helmbreaker into spirit release / combo. And in terms of balance, I never left with the impression that it was any stronger than the other weapons, even with infinite combos in red. Sure, the counters are more comfortable to pull off, but it's nice having a weapon that's comfortable to use, and it has no access to offsets. I found myself generating wounds easier with other weapons like Switch Axe or Insect Glaive. I love how it feels in Wilds. If I want a comfy secondary in my hands, Longsword is my third favourite secondary weapon.
Damn, Longsword's relegated to the third favourite secondary. Fair enough. But thanks for this comment, Honeyconov. Always posting long ass comments, honestly. Ugh, my voice is getting tired. But let's talk about this one. So Rise was pretty fast, but it was a lot of fun. So it's unfortunate he dropped it. But there's always other ways to play weapons. You know, you could always play the old style of Longsword. I guess it's not really the way it's done anymore, and it's not as impactful as it used to be. So maybe not. But yeah, it just seems like you've had problems with Longsword in general when it comes to the games. Now, not every weapon is for everyone. So if you have problems, picking up new weapons and playing other weapons is probably what you did. And that's for the best. Training and practicing also helps in those situations. I hope you consider that in the future. If there's something that you're not sure how to use it, play around with it, look at some tutorials, and maybe it'll help you understand how to use the weapon more. Now, monsters aren't as fast as Rise yet. You forget, we're just in a demo. That was just a beta of high rank, all right? Think of it like this. If you're thinking about all the moves we have now, all the access we have to stuff, this game is going to be fast. This is going to be as fast as Rise. Honestly, I might say maybe. At this point, I think this game is going to be much faster than World. Almost as fast as Rise, honestly. The way that they're adding encounters, the way they're giving people more power, and we don't even have any proper skills yet. Think about that. If you're adding on skills, if you're adding everything else we can get, monsters are going to have to be fast. So I would watch out on that one. But you're not the only one who talks about the spirit combo. Mira also talks about how she really likes it. She really likes how the spirit combo works now, and she's quite excited. And you also seem to be excited about how it works, which is good. And thanks for confirming, as he has no access to offset attacks, which I didn't know. So he has none of that, which might put the Longsword at a disadvantage when it comes to utility in that aspect, but probably makes up for it in all the other parts of the kit. But to be honest, yeah, I don't really have too much to add to this. I think a lot of the other comments kind of encapsulate what you thought. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Thanks for this comment, Honeyconov. I know you love to talk. So yeah, thanks. And that brings us to the end. So we're going to talk about my thoughts about the Longsword. I mean, at first I was pretty pessimistic about it. You know, I don't really like the counters. So all of that stuff, you know, people saying the counters are safer. That doesn't matter to me because I don't even like them anyway. I don't want to play Longsword countered. And I wasn't planning on even touching the weapon really in this game. I was going to play with a bit just to see what this new helm split is like. But apart from that, I wasn't really going to use it greatly. But after hearing what Mira said and Honeyconov said about the spirit combos, I'm actually excited. I'm excited to play a non-counter Longsword. Playing like it used to be, like it's supposed to be played back in the past. I'm excited for that. Now, I do understand people's problems when it comes to the weaknesses being removed. It just kind of takes away what the Longsword is in the 5th gen onwards, because the weapon is way more than that. Because weapon needs weaknesses. If they don't have weaknesses, like I said, It just takes away from the game design. It just takes away from the feeling of playing the weapon. What's the point of skills? What's the point of certain items and buffs and teamwork if you don't have any weaknesses? You're supposed to make up for your weaknesses with skills and other stuff and certain gameplay mechanics and stuff. But if the weapon already doesn't have any weaknesses, then what is the point? You don't have any. There is no point, which is unfortunate. If you can easily get your spirit gauge so fast, then there's no point bringing focus on a longsword. That's the thing. Focus on a longsword doesn't make sense. You don't even need it anymore. Back in the 3rd gen, I would actually do that because, like, okay, I want to get in my gauge faster because it's important for me to stick in my gauge so I can do more damage. Now that concept is absolutely gone. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to skills. Some aspects they're adding to weapons are just killing skills. It's killing them. Think of evasion. Evasion is a dead skill. No one really brings evasion anymore. Because why do you need it when every weapon has a counter or an evasion move in it anyway? It's irrelevant. Earplugs is gone. Because why do you need to care when every weapon can counter roars or just dodge through roars so easily? It doesn't matter. And that's the problem with these changes. It kills your own system. And Capcom aren't realizing this. They're killing their own system. That's actually crazy, killing your own system. I really hope that Capcom think about this more in the future of when they add in changes and impacts they bring for other aspects of the game and the gameplay for the users themselves. Is having too much comfortability a problem? I would say yes, because too much comfortability makes you lazy. It makes you lazy in your gameplay, it makes you lazy about your decision making. And unfortunately, I think this is going to breed a lot of lazy longsword users because they don't need to think as much as they used to do in the past. That's what I got to say on this video, guys. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed this video, if you didn't like the video, did I rant about longsword too much? I mean, come on, I think it was pretty fair. I'm not saying it was OP. I never said it was OP. That's not my criticism of the weapon. I have other criticisms. I think I have fair criticism, but let me know what you think down below. If you want to see more criticisms I have on the weapon, stay tuned for tomorrow because we're going to talk about it more and the situation between the longsword and the 6th gen. But yeah, guys, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys next time. See you.